comprehension games, math games, and we felt like, look, here we're not kind of pushing the boundaries. Those are great. We need those, but how do we push the boundaries? And I also have a background with working with professors in a different life, where I managed like innovation centers within universities. So I was able to, I know how to work with faculty, let's say. And so part of the historical angle was, okay, how do we get little known histories into games, right? And it can't be obscure histories that we can't prove. We want something that people can talk about publicly, people can use, and has educational value. So I kind of linked with one of the professors of histories here actually in London, in University of London. She's a reader of history, Dr. Marie Rodet, and she has 25 years history or a 25-year long career in African history and research, right? And she's also interested in developing games, so that's kind of how we hooked up, and we co-developed our first game, Usawa, which is based on hereditary slavery that's going on right now in West Africa. This is still a thing. And we went down to Mali, and we brought people from the 8 different regions in Mali into one place, and they shared their stories with us. And those are the stories that helped shape the game. They actually helped us design the game
That's
through their
interesting.
stories. It was an amazing experience, and it makes the game more meaningful.
Mm,
And when we put the game out, we realized that we were getting more traction in the UK
mm,
than in Africa. And we were
mm.
talking to teachers in Kenya across the board. And yes, there's interest, but not enough resources. But in the UK, there was interest and resources that
Funding,
we were
yeah.
able and funding to put to this. And so even with the game before, I think we've seen that games with deeper African and original African narratives gain more traction abroad first before they become popular locally.
Mm. And why is that?
And
Why do you think is that? We don't respect our own content. We don't engage with our own content.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's a very curious question because I think we wait for the outside to validate what we're doing, or to validate the project before we see it as something viable. And there's many different aspects or angles to that. But from what I've seen is that in this particular case, the game, got traction here, and I'm actively here trying to see how to roll it out within schools. If you look at Kenya, it's the English system as well, right? It's the Cambridge system. Also, we have the Kenyan system, but we also have the Cambridge system, IGCSE. Again, those are systems that start where? In the
University,
UK,
yeah.
right?
That's true.
So maybe in this case, when it comes to education, they wait for
Validation from
validation before it's actually widespread, even though they can see the value, but because you're not the originator of the system, you wait for the one that originated the system to now tell you that it's okay to
mindsets.
to implement it. So I think um, in terms of educational games, we already have a structure, and the originators of those structures are mainly in Kenya, for example, is IGCSE, Cambridge, EdTech. A lot of that is UK-based systems.
So, when people in Kenya have experienced these games, what's the feedback on it?
Particularly history teachers. The goal is to make the history teacher's life easier. I mean,
Mm,
we're talking about what we like to call difficult histories.
mm,
So, histories that are difficult to teach and difficult to talk about. And the goal with the game, we position the game such that the game is able to start these conversations. The game carries the idea, carries the topic, and the teacher can now
factual.
Exactly. The teacher can now chime in and just kind of check the logic. What did you think? What did you think? What did you do? What did you write? And now query the logic of the student as opposed to also having to carry the idea and introduce it to the student that has multifaceted angles to it. The game makes it easier for the teacher for delivery. And teachers love this because they don't want to use the wrong language when it comes to this kind of thing. And they're also modern day legacies that are attached to all the things that come out from hereditary slavery in this case. So yes, it makes it easier to kind of approach the subject. And at the end of it, we found students are actively contributing to the subject and don't see it as it's a sticky topic, let's not talk about it. The game kind of breaks those barriers and they start engaging in an open way. And this is the goal. If we can approach our problems in an open way and we can discuss it, I think it really moves conversations forward.
That's interesting. That's interesting. And I like the idea that it engages the students because I remember when I was younger, hearing someone say something is slightly different from when I actually engage with it because then my imagination goes wild because I'm able to develop this thing intrinsically to be able to appreciate it more, than and then when I'm being told, I can combine those the narrative of the person sort of sharing their thoughts and knowledge from my idea of what I read and engaged with or saw, and then it builds the whole picture. I think that creativity then develops a lot. So that would be great for the
Mhm.
African educational systems. One of the things I've been curious about is we always say game studios, and I've had the privilege of speaking to a few game studios in the past, and it's always the the people involved in these game studios who are behind the scenes. Can you talk to me about your team, the professionals you've got there? Because one of the things that we like to talk about is opportunities in game development. I think normally there's a designer, there's
Mhm.
a script. Look, I might be using the wrong terminology, but I know someone writes a script, someone designs it, someone adds the things together, shifts the characters to form the real. You tell me, I'm probably talking rubbish here, but you tell me about the members of your team and the various roles they play and how people who are looking outside from outside looking in want to have a role to play in game development, what roles they can look to.
I think it's a good question. I think for us, actually, our team is very spread out. We have a narrative designer based here in the UK, which a lot of the times is Dr. Marie or someone who works within her circle. We also have our artists. We have two artists. We have a visual artist and a 3D artist, and they're both based in Mali.
Mali,
Um,
okay.
yes, yes. Reason being is that like we've worked with artists all across, and we really like their work. And so in that sense, we're actually a Pan-African studio as well.
Mm.
So we have the 3D artist in Mali and the concept artist, Masere, is also based in Mali, and they're both French speaking. Um, we have in Kenya, we are three of us. There's myself. So I do game design. We have Benny, who is our Unity developer. So we focus more on Unity because we are more kind of Android and web kind of focused. And then we have an audiovisual engineer who covers everything from creating new music to adding visuals to different video edits. And he does a spectrum of things across. So we are kind of like a small, spread out, but tight team.
This is really interesting for me because is the professions who you're now describing here, which is interesting. Audio visual. Can you just tell me exactly what this person kind of does, and where does somebody go from there? Are these the kind of people who are in music, the beats creators?
Yes, essentially. So he makes music. You give him so he's made original Swahili music. He's made original um, uh, um, Kenyan country music. He's and you ask him to edit that and master that, he will do that. We give him behind the scenes videos. He's able to come up with figure out the script and come up with very clean edits for the website and for social media. And he also does our in-game cinematics as well. So when an animation scene is done, he can step in and add subtitles and add different effects to it. So that's why we call him an audio-visual engineer. His
That's
breadth
interesting.
of stuff is quite wide, and his impact is really across everything that comes out, has to be polished by him.
That's interesting. So just to recap, anyone watching, roles in game studio, game development is the narrative designer, the visual artist, the 3D artist, the game designer, the Unity platform. I think there's Unity and others, but there's the Unity platform engineer and the audiovisual engineer. So these are roles that young people who might be listening to this, or anyone who might be listening to this, interested in getting into game, reach out to is it Jiwe.io. You can speak to them and they'll lead you through the journey to become one of these professions. Um, Language, is there a language barrier, or how do you get around it? Tu parles français?
No, I don't speak French. I am
Translate
learning
avec
French.
Google.
I am learning French. I am on Duolingo, so I'm getting there.
Yeah.
And that's come up many times. Like working with our team in Mali, they also speak some English. Like I speak some French, and how do we collaborate? We've always had one person who is bilingual in the group, but we all need to be speaking. In our side, we really want to speak French. On their side, they really want to speak Swahili, not even English. So
Yeah. Well, for my side,
it's
I want to
very
speak
interesting.
French and Swahili because I'm really interested in Swahili.
Yes, yes. And so we have someone bilingual. But for example, in the streams, this has come up a lot because a lot of people are the streamers like to speak regular Swahili. A lot of people are saying, "Look, we can't understand," and so we're kind of experimenting with some live captioning. So it doesn't matter
Which
what language you
language?
speak, you'll always see subtitles in your language. So that has been something that comes up a lot, and something that we wanna see how to solve.
I don't think it's a problem. I quite enjoy it myself because in the various groups I'm in, especially for esports, I really love the way Kenyans speak Swahili. They don't speak English in any chat. Honestly, and I love it. I love it. They don't speak English in any chat. You go to X, you go to Discord, WhatsApp, whatever group Kenyans are, they don't speak English, they speak Swahili. And I love it. I'm always constantly translating with Google, but I love it. And that is what
I think.
I push for, having that naturalness to be able to be comfortable in the local language. Why not?
Mhm. No, I completely agree. In that scenario and context, it works. However, if you're, for example, in a playtest and you've asked a technical question, you want to understand what's being said as well, right? So, I don't know. It has its there are days for it, and then there are
Yeah.
days where someone goes, "Ah, I wish I knew what he said."
Yeah, but that's why you're coming up with the solution. I'm quite keen to see that solution of the instant translation into maybe a common language, English language on screen, whether it's you're speaking French or Swahili or whatever. It'll be nice to understand how that works. But that's great. That'll be powerful. That's really interesting. So we've done two of Chiwe's events. We've done the games. We've done the IO. let's look at Jiwe Esports, which you start in. Have you got one of or some of your titles in esports?
Not quite yet. We've been building infrastructure to be able to support this. We were big into esports beginning of last year all the way into July or August, and we decided to slow it down a little bit and to kind of build the infrastructure that would make any more investment in esports worth it. And for us, for example, if you're a developer and you want to develop and you're developing a multiplayer game, how do we, how do we have our own local infrastructure that supports local rewards? And so by that I mean, mobile money integrations. And so we've been working in the background to create infrastructure through an API where, if you create a game, and we tested this out with a simple game, Tic Tac X. If you go on Jiwe.io and look for Tic Tac X, literally there were competitions every weekend to see who would be on top of the daily, weekly, and monthly leaderboard, and we had rewards at the end of it. So you could, as you win, you earn points and climb up the ladder. You could choose to withdraw your points as airtime, and
Mm,
so that would bring you down the ladder.
mm.
Or you could choose to keep your points and play for the final prize at the end of the month. So we were experimenting with different models, and we want to now take it a step further. As I mentioned, we're working on a fighting game that hopefully will utilize all the infrastructure in full, and create something repeatable. The initial one was like a good test, and you can check out the results and the leaderboards and the streams around it as well. But we want to take it a step further, so that again, you can immediately start earning once you develop, because this becomes a situation where now you have microtransactions that are available for the developer instantly, right? So I think this is, it'll be a new way for the developer to earn if we can figure out, if we can crack the idea of how do we have an economy within the game, because it's going to be a give and take. If developers can crack that idea, I think the infrastructure would work amazing.
That's crazy because the system needs to be sustainable. It's not always give, give, give. It needs to be a way of a take, a give, and then it builds around it so people can explore and creatively find solutions to a lot of these problems. And that's, I think, what you're talking about. And that is going to go a long way to make Africa different. We've got the raw materials, we've got the population, we've got the interest, we've got mobile first, we've got the passion, we've got the people, we've got the vibe, we've got the culture, we've got the narrative, we've got everything to make the best meal, but we just cannot find the right cooks, the trusted cooks, the who will cut the raw materials, who will light the fire, who will set the pot, who will put the right ingredients at the right place, who will stir correctly, and who will serve. And when
Yes,
they serve, can we eat? And when we
yes,
eat, can we compliment? And when we compliment, can we donate, pay, and then let the whole cycle go again? Because if one chain breaks from this whole big cycle, we lose it.
yes,
And then that's where it's the divided rule. That's where there's the imbalance. That's why we're not where we are, or we all know in our heads where we need to be. We all know
yes,
where Africa needs to be. We want Africa to be there, but we are not all ready to put our hands in our pockets or hide our daggers and work with our hands. But we're keeping a dagger in one hand and working with the other.
yes.
It's frustrating
And
because I'm really excited about the things you're talking about.
yep. Yeah, I mean, from your example, we see ourselves. Imagine if you wanted to, build, let's say, some design, some metal design, and every time you wanted to do that, you had to build the furnace first and then go into the metalwork. We want to abstract the furnace building. The furnace should always be there for you
Yeah.
to really do a really, you know, high level craftsman job. You shouldn't be focused on building the infrastructure.
No, because
Um, yes,
everybody seems to be doing that.
yeah.
Everybody seems to be doing that.
And so if we abstract this, this will allow you to really focus on the craft at hand, and then that kind of moves the quality of games, of creative arts forward in the right way.
And I'm absolutely blown away. I think there are few things for me. You've given me more work than I thought I was gonna have. I've got Jiwe games to chase and look
Yeah,
at and see what you've got at the moment. And we need to I think I'm gonna speak to you because I need your packs to promote the various games.
yeah,
I need to see how Jiwe IO works. I need to see who's there, which games. These studios, we need to talk to these studios. We need to see how
yep.
they're working. We want to promote them and support them. They give them more visibility in there. I want to see how Jiwe Esports, when is your next event? Who are your media partners? Obviously, Esports Africa News is a media partner to major production places, and now we're offering ourselves as media partners to Jiwe. How can diaspora
This will be
Africans
amazing.
support Jiwe? Fund the game or test test the game. All these things need to be put together. So again, we are going to go out, and then we've got the professions in esports. We need to highlight, spotlight. So if you've got
Mhm.
a narrative of them, you know, in association with Jiwe, Esports Africa News can spotlight professions in esports, talk about your people. Who are these guys? What do they do? And what want to give people the vibe, the interest in going into gaming.
Mhm.
And then let's
Mhm.
try and build this ecosystem together. So now, Max, I'm really blown away. I think I've got a lot more to learn than than anything. So I'm really interested in it. So how do you see Nairobi as a hub, as um what do you call it, a nest for game development? Because I seem to see Nairobi as the Silicon Valley of Africa to a large extent. How do you see Nairobi? How do you see game development as a whole in Africa? I mean, with all these studios, and what do you think? I think these are three questions in one. Diaspora in Africa, because there's a million of us here. I always say diaspora Africa is the fifth country of Africa because there are a million plus of us here, and
Mhm.
we can equally contribute to the continent.
Yes,
So these three questions, Max. Sorry.
that's no problem. I'll start with the last one because it's my favorite one.
Yeah.
Diaspora Africans actually contribute, I think, via World Bank stats, I think 100 billion a year in diaspora payments into Africa, right? So they are
Yeah.
a huge financial group.
Yeah.
How much of this is for creative projects? I don't know. How much of this is education? How much of this is subsistence? I don't
Funerals and
know.
parties.
Yes, yes, yes. Now we need to be able to say there's infrastructure that can support investment in creative industries, and that's the
Mm,
narrative that we're starting with. I think in terms of Nairobi, Nairobi, we really got our leapfrogging moment with M-Pesa. And
mm,
M-Pesa as a platform has really changed the landscape in terms of digital payments, in terms of who is building with tech. It really gave us the confidence to really try and do more of that innovation. I think that's the base that we know the Nairobi community is kind of built on. It's built on a success called M-Pesa, and still today, it's I think one of the biggest mobile money platforms. But can we replicate that? Is the big question. Can we use it as an infrastructure for other innovations to grow? I
mm,
think this is the most important thing. This is how I see it. I see it as a bed for things to grow. And that's not to belittle kind of what's happening in West Africa as well, in Senegal, in Ghana. There's so many good game developers that have met there. But what we have going for us again is a strong M-Pesa community, on which we can now build other infrastructure on, right? Because it's always the movement of money. If you can move money very quickly, a lot of things can grow, a lot of things can switch hands, and a lot of things can happen. So I think for me, in my opinion, that's the base of why we are called the Silicon Savannah. We haven't yet capitalized it with a big innovation past M-Pesa, and I think this is what
Silicon
we need to
Savannah,
do.
that sounds so nice.
Yes, it was actually nicknamed after the Silicon. What is the
Silicon Valley.
Cal Silicon Valley in
Yeah,
California? Yes,
Silicon
so
Savannah.
Silicon
I
Savannah.
like
Yeah.
that. I like that. No, that's great. That's great, Max. Max, I am really, really grateful for your time. Thank you for making time. It was a quick call, and as soon as we connected, it was yes, we needed to do this, and yeah, we've done it, and I'm really, really impressed. I've got loads to learn, loads to work on, and I don't think this is the last time we're having a chat because your phone is going to be buzzing because I'm going to be contacting you a
With
lot.
follow-ups.
Yeah,
I'm looking
follow-ups
forward
and
to the
get.
follow-ups. And I'd actually recommend you also have a chat with Kennedy. Kennedy, who is the developer for Math3 Simulator, and just ask him what was the impact of him being able to raise this money. I think you'd be able to see kind of him talking about the impact, actually what his history is and how this has changed his development flow. I think you'd really get insight into the impact the platform could have.
Absolutely. I think this is one that you're gonna plug me in. So from here
Yep.
you can drop his details and I will schedule him in for the next time to be able to speak to him and hear his story and his experience of Jiwe IO. So it was great. And thankfully you were introduced to me by Andrew. Andrew and I go a long way. We've been talking for quite a long time. So thankfully Andrew introduced you to me, so that's great. And let's do this. Let's do this. Let's help support this African ecosystem. One Esports African is obviously as the main media, and our platform is available for everything and anything associated with game development in esports. So let's do it. Thank you, Max, and I look forward to engaging more with you.
Thank you for having me.
All right.